Three, two, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
On September 28th, 32 months after the Challenger tragedy, the Space Shuttle Discovery took Americans into space again. The country's hopes and prayers shot skyward with the 5 astronauts as they climbed into orbit. The mission was nearly flawless, and the Challenger astronauts join us live from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Rick Hauck, Dick Covey, Mike Lounge, Dave Hilmers, and George Pinky. And here in New York are 2 teenagers from East Northport, New York, who have attended the U.S. Camp and Academy in Huntsville, Alabama. 17-year-old Kirsten Thompson and her brother Jordan, who was 14. So we're at a little news conference with these guys this morning, okay? Commander, got to tell you, I was down in Florida when you were ready and on the launch pad, and that 9-minute countdown for me may have been the longest 9 minutes of my life. How long was it for you?
It was about 36 hours long.
What did it feel like once they finally got that count going again, once they said, let's go at 9, and it started to tick off?
Well, it caught us a little bit by surprise. We knew that there were some issues being worked as to whether we could go, and we really didn't think we would that morning, but it was nice to be able to relax while we were waiting, and when we picked up the count, it was very exhilarating.
It was an emotional moment for everybody during lift, Dick. Was the liftoff emotional for you as well?
Well, I don't think anybody that's ever ridden a rocket doesn't have some very interesting feelings when they finally light. You have a definite feeling that you're going somewhere. Of course, we're very excited about the fact that a very long road had come to the beginning of its end, and that was the recovery from the Challenger accident. As it turned out, the next 8.5 minutes took a whole lot longer than the count did. We were very excited when we finally got ECO and knew that we were headed toward a safe orbit.
We're going to let Kirsten and Jordan jump in.
Okay, Commander Hauck, I was just wondering, how did you feel being the first crew up since the Challenger disaster?
Oh, it was a great honor. I think we have about 95 people in our office, all of whom would have been qualified to do what we did, but it was great to be what we call the prime crew, and we got a lot of good training. We were working with a tremendous team, and that was very satisfying.
Rick, you've decided to let others up in space now, and to not go in the shuttle again. Why is that?
Well, I'm 47 years old, Harry, and this is not an old man's business, and I think being able to finish phase of one's life on a very high note is a nice way to do that. Perhaps there are other opportunities either within the Navy, I'm still in the Navy, or NASA, or maybe on the outside, may also provide some excitement.
Let Jordan jump in here.
Commander Hauck, on my mission at Space Camp, I was wondering what degree of pressure you felt being the commander of the shuttle.
Well, I hope you had as good a crew working for you as I did for me. All these folks have flown before, and I just kind of sat back and watched them do good work.
Mike, Dave, George, we were looking at the tape this morning, some of the movies you all shot up there. It was like you almost were having too much, and it almost looked like it was too easy, this mission. Anybody want to jump on that? Go ahead, Mike.
We stayed pretty busy. I know we had a good time up there, but most of the work for this flight was done in the months that preceded the liftoff. Like any successful flight, it's the foundation and the planning that are the keys, and once you get there and get going, you get a groove, and it really feels good.
I think that,
go ahead.
I think that there was a lot of tension up over the past 32 months, and when we finally got on orbit and got back into the environment of zero gravity, which we kind of consider as a second home, we just like to have a lot of tension be off and have a good time, and that's what we did.
Pinky, M&M's back and forth across the... that space is a serious business, right?
Well, it is a serious business, but it doesn't mean it can't be fun.
Rick, Dick, Mike, Dave, George, we're going to take a break here and back and we'll chat some more in just a bit, 10 minutes before the hour.
Control. Main gear touchdown.
For 4 days, the Discovery and its crew performed superbly, but we did relax until we watched the landing with a mixture of pride and belief. Now we rejoin the 5 Discovery astronauts at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and with us in New York, a brother and sister from East Northport, New York, Kirsten and Jordan Thompson, who both attended the U.S. Space Camp and Academy in Huntsville, Alabama. Really enjoyed the training and the simulation. Kirsten, go ahead.
Pinky Nelson, what type of experiments did you conduct on board the shuttle this mission?
We had 11 different experiments that we all participated in a big range, ranging from weather, taking pictures of lightning, to photographing the Earth limb, to growing crystals for biomedical research, to depositing organic films on a substrate for material science research, and with some melting magnetic metals for material science. Did a couple of student experiments, one in metallurgy and one in crystal growth. So we had a large variety of some very good science on board this time.
Jordan?
Mike Lounge, how does your training and simulations compare to the actual mission?
Well, we do very thorough training, and we train for a level of failures that we never see in flight. So after going through the months and months of training we do in the simulators, the flight really seems a lot relaxed, that we have a lot more time to just do normal work. So maybe we overtrain to some extent to make the real thing easy.
Commander, there were so many improvements and changes made on the vehicle. How did it work in your estimation?
It worked superbly. That was a beautifully clean machine, and our hats are off to the people down at the Kennedy Space Center, processed it, and the people that supported that all over the world. When we got up into orbit, oftentimes in zero G, you'll find lots of dust and nut bolts and so on that will float, even though people worked very hard to keep it clean. And in this case, it was a beautiful machine. The system worked well. We had some nits, but it worked wonderful.
Okay, another question for Pinky Nelson. What did you study to go into this field?
Kirsten wants to be an astronaut, so we need a good answer here.
Kirsten, I hope you get your chance someday. My own background, I have an undergraduate degree in physics from Harvey Mudd College in Claremont, California, and then a master's degree and a PhD in astronomy and astrophysics from the University of Washington in Seattle, and also have been a pilot since an undergraduate at Harvey Mudd.
He's also surrounded by a bunch of fighter pilots there, so
that's right. That's one path.
That doesn't hurt either. Jordan?
Dick Covey, how do you feel NASA and the space program has changed since your mission?
Well, I think the main changes we've seen within NASA are a commitment to quality through our contractors, a commitment to safety that we didn't have quite as much emphasis on prior to the Challenger accident, and a communications, I guess an increase in communications between all the elements of NASA. We saw that as crew members. We think that that'll continue. We think that those things will lead to a stronger agency that'll do more things that are better for our country.
Just time for one last question. Dave Hilmers, you all have flown on shuttles before, and now that the hoopla has had a chance to sort of settle down a little bit and life has returned to normal, you had an extra chance for any reflection or reaction to your time in space this time?
Well, I think one thing that really struck me sitting on the launch pad was the support that we had from so many people around the country. We just had stacks and stacks of telegrams wishing us well. And like all that, the support that we were getting, that we were doing something we believe in, and something that we think is really important for the future of our country. I was surprised at the amount of peace I had going into the mission, and sitting on the launch pad. I think we were focused much more on what was at hand than we would have been otherwise. We really appreciate the support of the country and all of this.
Gentlemen, we appreciate your courage and your work in space, and thank you for allowing us to spend a few moments with us this morning. Kirsten and Jordan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
10 minutes before the hour.
America's re-entry in space. September 29th, after 32 months of grief for the crew of the Challenger, almost 2.5 years of doubt that Americans would ever fly again, we anxiously awaited the
time. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery cleared the tower.
The crew of Discovery had a unique mission to renew America's confidence in mid-exploration space. They did. Joining us this morning from the Johnson Space Center near Houston is the crew of Discovery. Commander Rick Hauck, pilot Dick Covey, mission specialist Dave Hilmers, and Mike Lounge and Pinky Nelson. Gentlemen, a sincere congratulations, and it's great to see you. Good morning.
Thank you, James.
Commander, when were you able finally to yourself, mission accomplished? Was it when you achieved orbit successfully? Was it when you accomplished the launching of the satellite, the touchdown, or something else, perhaps?
when we said we'll stop at Edwards, then it was over.
And then it was done. And having said that, you're finished with your career in space, Commander. You've made the decision that that was your last mission. Why?
Yeah. Well, I'm 7 years old, Jane. There are a lot of folks in the office that are standing around waiting to get in line, and it's appropriate.
Well, that's an interesting tale in itself, that you say there are an awful lot of men and women who still are interested in a career in space.
Well, that's true, and as a matter of fact, one of the messages that we wanted to pass on during this flight, particularly to the young people of the country, was that we suffered a tragedy, but we worked very hard, got back to space, and we wanted to show that we could have fun doing it, too. I hope that message crossed.
Well, we obviously will never forget the crew of the Challenger, and Covey, you were the pilot. You were the last, yours were the last words the crew of the Challenger ever heard. Go for throttle, I believe, at 73 seconds, and then there was nothing. Were you waiting to hear those words yourself, go for throttle up, 73 seconds up?
Well, you're always waiting to hear the go at throttle up call, and it was a good call to hear, and it was nice to hear the great response that it gave. I think it showed the feelings that all of us on board had, that the Discovery was go, and we were on our way.
Well, it was on your way, but you had some business to take care of. We can't forget that the business of the shuttle is launching and deploying satellites. Mike, you were under a little pressure, if I'm not mistaken, at that point. You had to come through, you and Dave as well. How did it go? Was that portion flawless too?
Yes, Jane, that went very smoothly. You know, we train for a lot of failures in our simulator here in Houston, and when you get up on the real mission and have things go very well, it's almost relaxed. It was a big relief to get that beautiful satellite out of there, and we understand it's doing very well in geosynchronous orbit, so that was important to do that.
Using words like big relief and so on, is there a recognition at NASA that things can go wrong, perhaps in a different way than we considered before? Dave, you take that one.
I think that we have learned our lesson, that we're human and that we never can let our guard down, and I cannot see our agency ever getting that. It's easy to lapse into a feeling that we can never do anything but have successful missions. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think one of the real legacies of the Challenger mission is that we are fallible and can never let our guard.
Does anybody there answer to the name George?
No.
Nah? Pinky, I am told, and who's coming home, you gentlemen have made the rounds this morning, and I hope you've saved the best for last, but I'm told that on ABC you were wearing suits, that on CBS you were wearing nice crew shirts, and now you're in your Hawaiian suits. Me, how come I got the Hawaiian shirts?
Well, we saved the best for last.
Well, thank you very much. Who was in charge of wardrobe decisions?
Oh, I was in charge of the fun.
What about the mission specialist in charge of rock and roll? Would that be you, Pete?
I guess so, on this mission.
You play in a band?
Play at a band, yeah. Some of the other guys in the office.
You sing and play or what?
Yes, we try.
What kind of music do you do?
Rock and roll.
Yeah? Well, what do you think of the wake-up choices? Did you approve of the musical selections NASA gave you?
They were delightful. We wanted to stay on orbit a few more days just so we could get some more wake-up calls.
Well, I would have appreciated that. I can't tell you. I saw the launch myself in Seoul while we were there for the Olympics, and I got to confess, I wanted to be by myself. I was, and it was a thrill to watch you back at base. Best of luck to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane, and happy anniversary.
Thanks. Back in a moment. This is Today on ABC.